we've been enjoying Peacemaker. That's been where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Peacemaker, they released the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker. We talked about it yesterday, but I thought I'd take the time today to maybe talk about Lux and I's top 10 from the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker. What we've done is we've just taken 3 kind of broad topics from within the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker, and we're going to kind of rap about them a little bit. Now, if you haven't seen episodes 1 through 3, we're going to kind of soft spoiler some stuff. So soft spoiler warning. Real soft spoilers. We're not going to try to... We haven't even seen the whole series, so we can't spoil too much of it. But there's a bit of a reveal that we're going to try to tiptoe around. I'm already doing bad at it. Spoiler warning. Soft. Okay. But Peacemaker. This is John Cena.
Yep. John Cena.
This is starring John Cena.
John Cena. I think John Cena was made to be Peacemaker.
This James Gunn definitely wrote this character for John Cena. Like, you can tell the Suicide Squad film, also James Gunn, during an era where he's canceled from society and Marvel and DC gives him a gig. And this really feels like he had a purpose with the character Peacemaker. John Cena is doing a pretty good job. I won't lie, I'm enjoying him. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan, like modern wrestling fan, so I don't know too much about John Cena, but I do know I'm really enjoying it. Breaking down the character Peacemaker. Like, we've put here number 1 on our top 10s is John Cena. We're going backwards, by the way. We're not counting down. This isn't a countdown. We're going 1 through 10. We're just going to tell you our notes. John Cena. Fucking pleasure. Like, did he get into some scandalous stuff with China? Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yes.
But outside of a discussion about social credit scores and who to shill for and who not to shill for, John Cena's great. He's been doing all the press in the Peacemaker costume, which cracks me up every time I see it. When I flip on Good Morning America and John Cena's there dressed as Peacemaker, I lose it. I think that's hilarious. That is great marketing. That's going to pull me to your show. Okay, number 2, Eagly.
Eagly.
Eagly
is a good one.
Peacemaker has a sidekick. An eagle, a bald eagle named Eagly. And Eagly loves him. He gets a hug from the bald eagle in the show. It's great. It's great. There's a CG eagle that's, it's HBO Max CG. The eagle's kind of where the budget shows up sometimes. But great character. It's funny that he's seemingly also a little bit racist. Like, he just eagerly bites. Like, he's not lazy. He's a big bird of prey. And that's like an obvious thing to everybody but Peacemaker. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's the way they do the gags with Eagly. It's not all the time. It's not overdone. It's well written by James Gunn. The supporting cast. He's nipping at people. The Eagly is nipping at the supporting cast, right? The supporting cast is hilarious. Like, the whole crew. Steve Agee as dyed beard guy. You'll watch the series, you'll get that gag. But Steve Agee's great. It really does feel like he's working a day job more than anyone else. There's they add a little bit of a social diversity in the way of a lesbian kind of supporting character who is honestly my favorite thing. She's kind of your POV into this weird situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, it brings me to number 4. A full frontal pussy shot. At one point, there's a hilarious gag, and it's just the supporting cast being hilarious and allowed by the director to have the time to talk to each other. Like, you're genuinely getting time in the universe, which James Gunn is spectacular at writing that. If you're a comic book fan and you like any of the any of the cinematic depictions of your comic book characters, he's the person you want writing them. He's going to put you in the universe there with them. You're going to hear all the funny little conversations, man. That's what's so great about Guardians of the Galaxy. That's here in Peacemaker too, man. Like, there's there's a gag with the tablet where they're running through like, all right, we're gonna do this is the mission, man. And at one point, girl slides it, and there's just a full selfie pussy photo. Just a fully exposed full frontal. Somebody took a picture of their vagine and sent it to the production of this show, and they kept it in. And the reaction from John Cena and everybody else in the scene is priceless. Like, it's genuinely a good moment. I wonder what the photo actually was on the tablet. I wonder if it was just a straight up pussy. It's hilarious. Embarrassing. These are little moments that you get to live in the universe and develop with the supporting characters. Now the supporting characters are just as endearing to you as the dude you're watching dance around in his whitey tighties. I couldn't praise an element of the writing more. Well, until we get to Vigilante. Then we get to kind of my favorite little element in the show. Now, it feels like they've changed Adrian's origin story from the comics, but there's a character called Vigilante. He kills criminals. He's the opposite of Batman. Think if the Punisher and the Deadpool got together in a Batman universe, but aim lower. He's a D-list at best, man, but they do him. They do him in this show, and it's great. They do Vigilante in such a cool way. Like, he just really wants to be Peacemaker's best friend. There's a really endearing moment where Peacemaker has to take out an entire family with a rifle. And he just can't do it. Peacemaker's changing as a character. He's, like I said before, being played by John Cena pretty well and written by James Gunn fantastically. So Vigilante just kind of comes up and gives a little pat on the shoulder and says, "Hey, why don't you move over, big guy?" And then murders most of a family. Like, there's just this sweet but homicidal and dark. James Gunn nails it. The visual direction of that scene in particular, with the rifle in the woods, the suspense they build, and the way he'll deflate you with a joke, James Gunn. It's just great. It's great. Oh my gosh. It looks like I've put in here the Suicide Squad film. Lux likes that it is attached to the Suicide Squad universe. I do too. Mm-hmm. I like that
it's a continuation from the movie.
Yes, I like that they kept things from the first version of the Suicide Squad, and then they've got the James Gunn version now, but they've kept, little things. You get kind of a recap of what happened in Suicide Squad at the beginning of Peacemaker. So Peacemaker in itself is kind of like a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Suicide Squad, watch that. Watch that first. It's gonna be a lot funnier, I would imagine. The effects. They're good. They're better than something like Doom Patrol. So aim a little higher than your typical HBO Max, like brought over from another platform show. Like I'm a big fan of Doom Patrol, and it has some pretty C minus effects work at times. It's no CW, but it's not the best. But Peacemaker, it genuinely feels like they're bringing the kind of the heat they would bring to a mainstream DC film at times. The only times I feel like I see some holes are like Eagly sometimes looks a little rushed.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else has been pretty solid.
Well, there's also a couple times where you can just tell that they didn't really know where Eagly's head was going to be. So, like, John Cena's just kind of staring off into space when he stares through the eagle.
John Cena just acts through Eagly sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I forgive immediately because he's a big himbo type. Like it's like, watching an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure after a certain point. His physical acting is great. He's a great physical actor, except when he's looking at Eagly. Everything else, solid physical acting. There's times where it's like that has to be him doing that stunt. That has to be him doing that stunt. He's huge. Who else did they get? Maybe I'm wrong about his proportions. Maybe that's just genuinely good cinematography making him look that huge all the time. The rumors about Peacemaker, right? It's my favorite. It's number 8 on our list, and it's one of my favorite little elements in the show because I feel like that's where James Gunn is genuinely paralleling his real life. During a lot of this and the writing of this, I imagine he was still dealing with the fallout from some decades old tweets, like some tweets that he never should have been an issue. He was brought back to Marvel famously, so none of this is even really an issue anymore, but it's an element of this show that is really well placed. Like occasionally they're like, "Oh, you're that racist superhero." Peacemaker's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not. Why do you think I'm a racist superhero?" And it's like because you say racist shit and you do racist shit, and you kind of find out a little more about Peacemaker's background and maybe why he is this unintentionally racist himbo.
Sorry, I have a fire.
It's the rumors. The rumors surrounding Peacemaker are horrible and truthful is the thing. But it's the more you peel back the layers of the onion of the character, the more you realize like he's kind of just this stunted boy from the 80s. Like he's still listening to hair metal and you're watching dude kind of rediscover who he is inside. He's not killing people. He seems like he's got almost issues killing even seemingly innocent people without context. Which brings me to number 9, butterflies. There's an ongoing gag in this which holds over from the Suicide Squad film, right? It's that Argus, Cadmus, whatever the fuck the name is in this iteration, they're bad at naming their operations. Like the operation in Suicide Squad was Operation Starfish. It turned out to be a giant starfish. And it's like that's hilarious. At one point, John Cena makes the gag, like, what's the operation? And they're like, Operation Butterfly. We gotta assassinate these butterflies. And they're calling people butterflies. And he's like, at one point, he just assumes he's gonna fight Mothra. He's like, well, oh shit, do I have to fight Mothra? And they're like, no, you're not gonna fight a giant butterfly. And he's like, are you sure? Because you're bad at naming operations. Last time you named an operation, I fought a giant version of it. So. Funny gag. When you find out what butterflies are, it reinforces how funny that gag is. Because it's just great. It's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm moment. Like it's workplace comedy like structure in this bloated Peacemaker world. It's great. It's a delight. But as you're peeling back the onions of the character of Peacemaker in the first 3 episodes, where everything kind of climaxes, and this is a bit of a spoiler, is you get to see Peacemaker's father. He's the guy who's making all the technology that he wears, the helmet that does cool shit. Weapons deadlier than any other person can make is what his father does. Now, his father is revealed to be in this show the character White Dragon, a white supremacist villain, and he gets locked up almost as a gag by the supporting characters, and it's revealed he's full on, almost unintentionally leading a racist gang within the prison that he's in now. So it's great, and it explains a lot about the character Peacemaker. It strips away those misconceptions you kind of have. Now you almost have pity for him because he was raised by a racist. He's parroting the rhetoric of his father unintentionally, which we all do to a degree. Everybody does to a degree. And I think that's an element in this too that James Gunn obviously pulled from his own life and experience. And another reason it's so relatable and good, and I suggest it for everybody. If you're an adult, again, there is a full frontal vagine in this series, so not for kids necessarily. But thank you guys for letting me roll through my top 10 Peacemaker list. We had Lux had to kind of bail out of here. She had to put out a fire, dude. She's the queen of her domain though, so she probably saving asses right now.